Hello, BookTube. I've got a little mail haul for you. One of these little mail hauls that we do that seem to work so well. It's just 4 packages, and it's without obnoxious leaf blowing in the background, that obnoxious leaf blower. I realized belatedly after that last video that I'd been listening to that same leaf blower for like 90 minutes, something like that, 2 hours. And I immediately, once I realized that, I thought, okay, well, there isn't that much sidewalk or gutter debris in this entire neighborhood of Boston, let alone in this immediate area. So I went out to see what the big deal was, and it was a pair of city workers, one of whom was looking at his phone, just leaning against their truck, and the other of whom had the leaf blower and was just pointing it at concrete, just pointing it at the sidewalk, just making noise for the hell of it. So I sent them on their way, and now we have relative quiet. It's bad enough with construction across the street, but that I shouldn't have let go on that long. I'm not going to redo a video about it, but this street is loud enough anyway. As you can hear, there are constantly sirens going towards Roslindale, constantly. That was bad enough without a leaf blower. A guy standing there pointing it at the sidewalk. So hopefully we'll have a little bit less background noise. Maybe that's just a Don Quixote type dream. But we've only got 4 packages to go here, so we'll see what we have. Maybe we can get through it without apocalypse happening just outside the window. So what is this first one? Oh boy. All right, well, we're off to a fine start. Florence Under Siege. John Henderson. This comes out in late August. Plague remains the paradigm against which reactions to many epidemics are often judged. Here, the author examines how a major city fought, suffered, and survived the impact of plague. Going beyond traditional oppositions between rich and poor, this book provides a nuanced and more compassionate interpretation of government policies in practice by recreating the very human reactions and survival strategies of families and individuals. And of course, here in the bookish world, we know this. We know the Florentine plague because of the Decameron. Right, because it was to flee the Decameron that our young group of aristocrats head for the country and tell each other stories. But you also know it from Journal of a Plague Year, Daniel Defoe's most strange and mesmerizing work. From the evocation of the overcrowded conditions in isolation hospitals to the splendor of religious processions, the author analyzes Florentine reactions within a wider European context to assess the effect of state politics on city, street, and family. Fantastic. A new piece of Renaissance history. Alrighty. Okay. Fantastic. That is a fine start. Let's hope we can keep it up. We've got only 4 packages here with no leaf blower. I tell you, I'm a little bit ashamed how long it took me to deal with that. Let's see. Let's see what this next one is. Okay. Is this a paperback original? This looks like a paperback original. Okay, this comes out in late June, and it is by Dan Mooney, and it is called The Great Unexpected, and it looks like it's going to come out as a $16 paperback. This is the author whose debut novel was Me, Myself, and Them, a deeply human take on mental illness and connecting with others when things seem at their darkest, and this is his second novel. It's a lighter book, but with just as much acerbic wit and grounding in our universal desire for connection. It's about 2 elderly men at the end of their lives and how they turn the banality of nursing home life into something wonderful with each other's unexpected company. I like that. It addresses the question, at the end of your life, when your partner dies and your career has ended, your friends have passed away and your regrets have piled up, what's there left to live for? Okay, all right, that took a grim turn. All right, let's see. This is due in a couple of weeks. It's a novel about the very old, which is a little bit of a rarity right there. So great, and it's a paperback original for $15. That's also great. So I'll get to that. I guess I'll do that soon. I'll do that tonight. So what is this next one? It's another paperback. Son of a gun! It's another paperback. It's another paperback original. It's another $16 paperback. A Family of Strangers by Emily Richards. One day, Ryan Gracie is a successful crime podcaster. I didn't know there were successful crime podcasters. Muddling her way through adulthood and mostly a stranger to her family. The next, she's caring for her sister Wendy's children as Wendy is on the run from a murder accusation. Ryan, Wendy, and their complex dynamic are fully unraveled in A Family of Strangers the latest book by USA Today best-selling author Emily Richards. Wendy and Ryan were born 17 years apart. All her life, Ryan lived in Wendy's shadow. Her older sister thrived as an all-around perfect and well-behaved model student, while Ryan, born with a heart defect, was a fussy baby and stumbled through childhood. Now, as adults, Wendy is married to the perfect man and has 2 equally perfect kids. Ryan, on the other hand, is still trying to figure life out. The only part of her life she considers success is her investigative crime podcast. When an abrupt phone call comes out of the blue from Wendy, her sister tells her she's delayed on a trip to Phoenix because there's been a murder, and that she might be wrongfully accused and needs Ryan's help. Okay, and that is the premise of the novel. It just starts from there. Okay. This is a USA best-selling author, but I don't think I've ever read this author before. But it doesn't matter. Okay, so this comes out on June the 25th, so in a couple of weeks. And that's a pretty interesting premise. So this is another paperback original. So that's 2 books in a row that aren't going to set you back the moon in the sky. And then we'll do this last one. It's fairly heavy. Could be a finished copy of some kind. Ooh, it is. It's a great big finished copy. Oh my. Okay. All right. Great. We've seen this on this channel before. This is by Simon Reed Henry, and it's called Review Copy Not for Resale. And it is a panoramic history of the second half of the 20th century. I think its original title was not Review Copy Not for Resale, so that change confuses me. But the subtitle is The Remaking of the West Since the Cold War. This is 1971 to 2017, so that is our lifetime. That is living history. That is our lifetime. So you've got Donald Trump on the cover and Barack Obama, but somewhere on this cover, it looks like it's covered by the title, but also on this cover would be Reagan and Gorbachev and the fall of the Soviet Union. So this is all of those linchpin events. The sell sheet still has the original title, which was Empire of Democracy, before it was changed to Review Copy Not for Resale. I'm assuming that's the title because it's by far the most prominent thing on the cover. And I can't imagine any reason why it would be there other than that it being the title. Because it certainly couldn't be a standing admonition to book reviewers not to steal, right? It couldn't be that. There's just no way that a publisher would be that boorish. so instead, that's got to be the title. And it doesn't really do justice to the book. It doesn't seem to be about the book. When the Cold War ended, the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, the march of Western democracy seemed unstoppable. Remember that moment? That was an amazing moment. But now, just 30 years later, democracy in the West faces crisis and possible decline. On both sides of the Atlantic, it is shaken by a loss of faith in democratic institutions, populist nationalism, authoritarian leaders, and economic inequality. What happened? How did we get here? And this is the long story of that from 1970s on. So, fantastic. And this is, hey, the pub sheet material is huge. Probably to make potential reviewers a little less intimidated because this is a big, meaty thing. But this is fantastic. Great. Glad to have it. Mystery about the title change, but the book is exactly what I like. And there have been more and more of them. More and more people looking at the second half of the long 20th century and just analyzing it. And so, all right, well, that's great. All right, so we had 2 fiction and 2 nonfiction. 2 fiction and 2 history. That's not bad at all. So we have Review Copy Not for Resale. This is by Simon Reed Henry. And the other history book is Florence Under Siege by John Henderson, which is about the famous plague in Florence. But it sounds like it's going to be a much fuller and more realistic picture than just families being walled up inside their houses and noble people fleeing to their country estates. Then we have 2 paperback novels. We have A Family of Strangers, pretty interesting setup. And we have The Great Unexpected, 2 old men forming a friendship after they've lost everything else. After they've lost all the people, their life, their purpose, their health. What happens then? Is it anything that happens then? That's fascinating. This is a fairly fascinating mail haul. And I noticed it still had some background noise. There's still a street out there. There are still people out there. At least no leaf blower. That's good. But anyway, I'm going to get to a couple of these right away. I'm going to do The Great Unexpected and Review Copy Not for Resale tonight. And to see what they're like. But in the meantime, I will be back. We have plenty of other bookish stuff to talk about. Thank you, BookTube.